Mxkai3, who's going to do a showcase of two of the wonderful games in this series. Hi, Kai.
Hi, I'm Mxkai, and I will be playing some TGM for you tonight, hopefully slightly fast and without too much tapping out.
All right, why don't you just get a game started?
Yep.
We'll start talking.
Here we go.
All right, so this is Tetris the Grandmaster 1. This is an arcade game by a company called Arika. It's really cool. That's all you really need to know about this game, honestly. So this is Tetris the Grandmaster, and probably right away you're wondering what that name means. So this isn't quite like your traditional Nintendo Tetris, like your NES or your Game Boy, where it's a score or line challenge. This game actually has a defined endpoint. That endpoint is when the level counter that you see on the bottom of the screen reaches 999. The level counter goes up whenever you place a piece, and for every line you clear. An average completed game takes anywhere in the range from like 9 to 13 minutes, depending on just how good you are. I have like a 13:23. Kai these days has like a, 10:41?
10:36 actually, I broke the 10:40 limit.
Nice. So, the reason it's called Tetris the Grandmaster, and this may come as a bit of a shock, is because you get the Grandmaster ranking upon finishing the game, except it's not just upon finishing the game. There's a couple other requirements. So besides just, clearing the game, you have to meet a couple, like, midway checkpoints. So when you reach level 300, you have to be at least rank 1. The rank is, like, the single-digit number in the box near the top of the screen. And that requirement's really easy, and then the time requirement's what, like 4:15?
Something. I don't remember the lower time limits, because they're just not an issue.
At pretty much any skill level, the level 300 checkpoint is not hard. At pretty much any medium or above skill level, like a 12-minute GM or lower, the next requirement is also not hard. The next requirement being at 500. And the requirement is you must have reached rank S4 and do it in under... I don't even remember the time limit. I never had trouble with the time limits. The time limits really aren't an issue. The S4 can be a little bit of a problem if you have, like, a really bad game. Okay, so with that, I'll talk a little bit about the ranking system, because I keep mentioning these ranks. Basically, the ranks in this game, in Tetris the Grandmaster 1, are determined strictly 1-to-1 by your score. So as you continue to increase your score being increased by clearing lines, more lines at once is more points, and the later in the game you are, the more points you get, because the number of lines you clear is multiplied by the level you're at. Don't top out.
It's okay, we're fine. I hope.
Yeah, that's fine. So yeah, that's the ranking system, and you go from rank 9 all the way to rank 1, and then after that you move into the S ranks, go from S1 to S9, and then if you have, the final requirement is you have to have a little bit above an S9. I forget the exact number of points. It's a little bit above S9.
126, I think. And S9 is 120.
Yeah. And under 13 minutes 30 seconds, you get Grandmaster rank. Okay, so now I've mentioned time a lot here, so let's actually talk about why or why not Tetris is a speedrun. I'm gonna focus specifically on why, because yeah. So let's talk about the speed tech in this game. I guess first I should talk about the speed at all. So you'll probably have noticed that the speed the piece fall speed continues to increase. That's a thing. At level 200, which we're now already past, the speed actually goes way back down and then starts accelerating again. The period from level 300 to level 499 is what we like to call awkward G. G stands for gravity, and in a technical sense, it's the number of tiles that a piece falls per frame. Awkward G is called awkward G because it's not low G. So you have certain limits on what moves you can make just based on the fall speed, but it's not 20G, which is the maximum speed at which once you're pretty experienced, you know exactly what moves you can and can't make. Once you break the barrier at level 499, you're into 20G. Once again, that's tiles per frame, and astute Tetris players may know there's typically 20 tiles tall in like a Tetris well. So what that basically means is it's instant gravity. The piece spawns and then it is already on top of your stack. So 20G stacking is a whole nother kind of beast, but in a lot of ways it's actually easier than low G stacking because it's consistent, which is kind of nice. So Kai is heading towards 20G here. What else to talk about? There's a lot in this game.
You can talk about my creative overhangs.
Oh yeah, your creative overhangs there. So, let's move into a little bit of stacking strategy. I guess I'll quickly go over the low G stacking strategy because I was talking through all of it. We just hit 500. Kai already has an S5, so they are well on pace for GM. So in the early game, you want to stack as high as possible for 2 reasons. The first being for time, because pieces take a non-zero amount of time to fall, so the less distance they have to fall, the less time that is, it's faster. The second being a score reason. Like I said, the level that you're at multiplies the amount of points you get from a line clear. So the later, or like the longer you wait to clear lines, the more points you get out of them. So in the early game, up until anywhere between like 300 and 500, depending on where you're comfortable, you're going to want to stack as high as possible and create a Tetris well on the right side of the screen. That is the right side specifically because of a particular quirk in the rotation system where, to make a long story short, the eyepiece and a couple other pieces have kind of a preference for going right than going left in certain situations. So if you're stacking for a left side Tetris well, you have a like more limited move set. Once you hit 20G, your stacking strategy changes a little. Since pieces fall instantly, you don't need to worry about getting them down as fast as possible. In addition, in low G, you want to kind of stack relatively flat, but with some kind of curvature to your stack. The old adage is not too bumpy, not too flat. Stacking that way will allow you to be able to fit all the different kinds of pieces on the field. In 20G, you want to stack effectively in a pyramid whenever possible, because pieces fall instantly. So if you want to move a piece to the block next to it, but the block next to it is above it, it's not happening. It's impossible. So you want to stack with a continuous downgrade from where pieces spawn, and that's how you're able to have full control over your piece movement in 20G. So let's talk a little bit about the rotation system as Kai approaches level 700 here. This game uses the Arika rotation system, or ARS. It's not nearly the same as like Nintendo Tetris. It's based on classic Sega Tetris. So the biggest thing to kind of know about it, you doing all right here?
We'll see.
The biggest thing to know about ARS is that, with the only exception being the eyepiece, every piece rotates such that it's like the bottom square is at the same height. The eyepiece rotates a little differently, but I won't get into that. In addition, the Arika rotation system allows for what's called wall kicks, where if you press the button to rotate a piece and the game says, well, wait a minute, that piece can't fit there.
Aww.
Oh no. Oh, okay.
We dropped it. That's okay. We have time for one more TGM1 game.
Yep. And then we'll check the bid war.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That was
So
pretty decent though. We were looking
Yeah,
good.
this game isn't really consistent because, you know, it's Tetris, so that's okay. All right, you just start another game. I'll keep blabbering on about wall kicks. So wall kicks. Basically, you try to rotate a piece, and the game says, well, wait a minute, that piece can't fit there. The game will try that rotation state, one tile to the left and one tile to the right. Technically, it tries the right first, and that's one of the reasons that we do a right side Tetris well, because you can get so-called Mihara's Conspiracy. Mihara being the lead producer of the Tetris the Grandmaster games, where you press the button and to rotate and you're like, okay, it's gonna wall kick to the left. I see the perfect spot for it there. But it actually wall kicks to the right because it preferences the right side. And then you just like stare up at the sky and curl up your fists and shout Mihara angrily. So you preference moving pieces right as a general rule. These wall kicks also allow for some particularly interesting moves that you may or may not catch, kind of happening once in a while. One of the more kind of noticeable ones is called the J teleport, where you can teleport the J piece, which is the dark blue piece, basically from one side to the other of like a bump in the stack, just because of how the rotation states and how the wall kicks work. Did I miss anything? What else do I need to talk about?
I mean, I did a pretty cool ice spin at the end of the last game. It didn't
I
see me
didn't
though.
catch that.
It might have actually been detrimental, but like, you can't not do an ice spin when you see it.
Yeah, this game's all about swag. Like 100%. There's nothing that matters except swag.
But yeah, we are gonna need to cut off the bid war pretty soon, because if we're gonna do
Yeah.
red mode, then we need to do it after this game.
Yep, once you finish this game, we'll check it.
Cool.
So I guess I should talk about that a little, just in case you want to get some last-minute donations in. So rev mode, or reverse mode, is exactly what it sounds like and exactly what you're afraid it is. It's Tetris, but upside down. It's a game mode in... Or the right way, depending on how you look at it, yeah. It's a game mode in this game, Tetris the Grandmaster 1, so if we're gonna do rev mode, it's happening after this. The other option is Tetris the Grandmaster 2's item mode, which is basically like the Mario Kart racing game of Tetris games.
That is a
where
really
you
good,
have...
really good
where
way
you
to
have-
describe it.
Thank you. You have items that do silly, sometimes good, sometimes bad, sometimes ineffectual things to the playing field. And of course, the items get gradually more terrifying as you go along the game. So take your pick. You get right side up Tetris or Mario Kart Tetris with items. Both of those are really good, as last I checked, rev mode was winning. But for now, we can continue to sit back and enjoy Tetris the Grandmaster 1 upside down, as it originally was meant to be.
I am confused. Probably because I'm playing upside down.
Yeah.
Alright, we're gonna jump into the awkward G's now, so hopefully I
Yep.
won't make a lot of misdrops.
Hopefully. Yeah, this is awkward G. As you can see, like, the piece speed is not staying the same. It just keeps getting faster, except then near the end of the 400s, it actually slows down a little bit. It's really weird. The speed curve in this game is super dumb. So it's really awkward to deal with, which is what earned it its name.
You may notice when I like stack high enough, the game will get really upset and start sounding a little siren, telling me to get my stuff together.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the siren, because I can't hear your game audio. Yeah, I mean, that's classic Tetris right there.
Can I steal
that's
5 seconds for a donation message
Absolutely.
specifically to Kai?
Aw.
We have a $199 donation from a person named Mxkai3 that says, "Go Kai!"
Oh, thank you, Mags.
Meg. Meg is a good. Fun fact.
I'm a fan of Meg.
We also have $50 from Grolfiend that says, "It's dangerous for LGBTQ people to go alone. Here, take this."
Thank you so much.
Thank
for
you very
donations.
much. Level
Alright.
422, blaze it.
Yeah, we're coming up on 500 pretty soon, which is, again, we're in 20G or instant gravity starts, so
Yeah.
I really want an eyepiece right now. Or T, I mean. There we go.
Oh, there it is.
You just have to ask
Um,
nicely, and the game will give you what you want. 10 out of
Every
10.
time, without fail. So I should say with instant gravity, once you hit level 500 in TGM1, the speed never again changes. It's flat instant gravity for the rest of the game. That is only the case in this game and not true for TGM2, which we're going to be seeing later.
Yes.
There's some very interesting stuff in this game. When you kind of look at it in the context of the modern TGM community and having seen the other games in the series, it kind of shows that Arika didn't really know what to expect from players. Like, whether or not they would be any good at this game, how reachable Grandmaster would be. There's some, like, interesting juxtapositions between certain of the GM requirements that don't really make sense in reality, but maybe they thought would be fine when they were developing the game because, you know, it didn't have an active community. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting to look at, and some of that will kind of shine through when we move on to Tetris the Grandmaster 2, but for now we're still playing this one, the original and the best.
I don't know. TGM2 is pretty good.
TGM2 is pretty good, yeah.
They're kind of different because since the like forced speed increases so much in the later games, the game kind of loses some of its like puzzle elements and turns into more of a like pure action, like raw speed type of game, which is like it's like an interesting difference. You play the games pretty differently, especially in some
every
game modes.
TGM game has they all have their own kind of strategies and ideas that go into playing them. Especially TGM3. Oh, that was an interesting rotation you just did there with that J piece.
You gotta get it in there.
Yeah, one thing that, like, you can really tell of a good TGM player is that they know their rotation table, meaning that they know when they press the button to rotate a piece, they know exactly where that piece is gonna move to.
Yeah, that's really important to like internalize all of that and like know all the rules.
Yeah, especially for 20G, and especially for placing eyepieces.
Oh yeah, because eyepieces are kind of finicky because they don't really obey the same rules as the other pieces, at least not all of them.
Yeah.
Alright, so we have kind of a messy stack, but we're not in like an immediate risk of topping out, so we'll see what happens.
It's fine. It's super fine.
Alright, I trust you.
It's fine. So, Kai, why don't you tell me a little bit, when did you pick up this game?
So, I had been seeing this game played at various GDQs for a couple GDQs, and I just always thought it was like, since the first time I saw it, I was like so sold. It's just such an amazing game to watch, I think, especially when you like see the super high level players. So I was just like really into watching that every GDQ. It was like the highlight of each GDQ for me. I always wanted to see. It was like the thing I looked forward to the most. But I never really thought, you know, I mean, some people when they see me play now, they go like, oh, I could never do this. This is so fast. Like, I could never learn this. But that was my thoughts exactly when I saw this at GDQ.
That was kind of the same experience I had, yeah. When I picked this up a little bit after you.
Then after, let me see if I can get this right. I think it was
after SGDQ 2016.
SGDQ 16, yeah, that makes sense. I started following Enchantress of Numbers on Twitch, who was part of the TGM crew for that GDQ.
She closed Power Up with Pride 2017 with this game.
Yes, that
last
is true.
year, so that was fun.
Yeah, and I started watching her play this game, and just like, I guess I just learned more about it, and just watching it, and then eventually I was kind of like conned into trying it out. And then you kind of realize when you do play it for yourself, you realize that, yeah, sure, the like speed limit, like there pretty much is no, well, there is a speed limit, but it's very high. You can like push the game to go very, very, very fast, but you don't have to go fast. The game isn't even that fast at all when you're just starting out. So it's not that intimidating to get started with as a beginner. So I just like had a ton of fun with it and played it a bunch. And then eventually I just realized, hey, I'm getting like pretty decent at this. And eventually got my first GM, which is like...
Eventually? You mean 2 months later?
Yeah. Well,
Kai was a very, very, very fast learner.
yeah, I got a pretty fast first GM. And the first
Shout
GM
out
is
to the
also...
GM fetus.
Oh yeah, we're in the 900s now.
Yeah.
And also, like, your first GM is like a guaranteed day of infinite happiness. Like, nothing can get your
That's
mood
what they
down.
call it, and
Yeah.
I can confirm, and I'm sure Kai can confirm too. It's
Yeah.
an accurate name.
I'm really sad I didn't get because my first GM was offline. So I have no, like, recording of it. I took a selfie shortly after, but I wish I could have caught my reaction to it because I was just like shaking and like teary-eyed and really happy.
Same.
It's a very rewarding game to like just put time into.
Yeah, and if you want to learn about this game, it's actually pretty easy to play despite being like an arcade game. If you like talk to the community, they can get you to the resources that will let you play it. If you want to learn more about it, you can just go to the easy to remember website tgm.tips
So
and read the official TGM guide, and that's GM right there.
we just got ourselves a GM.
GG. So you get to keep playing during the credits, which is fun. In this game, it's just a kind of a victory lap. Like, you got your GM. There's nothing else you can do. 11:43:21. That's pretty all right.
It's
I mean, that's
that's a pretty good
2
marathon
minutes
time for me.
faster. That's 2 minutes faster than my GM.
Yeah, roughly.
All right, let's check on this bid war.
I'm glad I did pull off the GM because like sometimes you just I don't know, I'm getting pretty consistent now. I can usually pull off a GM within a couple games if I like really try, but sometimes, you know, it just won't happen.
Yeah.
But we got it. I'm really happy.
I
Okay,
can give you your
so
information if you want.
yeah, go for it.
So coming in as the winner in the Tetris Grandmaster Showcase, Choose Showcase incentive is TGM1 Rev Mode.
Alright, let's get that started then.
And we also have a $10 donation from Vi the Deer that says, "So happy to see you showing off your TGM skills, Kai.
Aw.
Get that TGM2 GM."
Thank you, although I will, kind of spoiler warning, I will not be showing off a tap GM for you tonight, or TGM2 GM. I actually have not got a GM in that game. I am an S9 player, but it is ridiculously harder. So I'm still working on that. But first, let's show off a Rev Mode game. So I'm just input.
So now we're gonna see Tetris as it was meant to be played, right side up, where the
Oh,
pieces go upwards, and you have to down stack to be good.
Yeah.
So
So
this
I've
is Rev
only
Mode.
yeah.
If this game hurts your brain, that's pretty much the expected reaction
Yeah.
to being shown Tetris in its true form for the
That-
first time in one's life.
That pretty much just means it's working as intended, I think.
Yeah. This is Rev Mode. It's better.
Yeah,
Enchantress of Numbers, the aforementioned Tetris player, is the world record holder for GM and Rev Mode. She's really good at Rev, and it's awesome.
at least known, I think. I don't know. I'm not sure how the Japanese people are ranked in it.
Yeah, that's true.
She's
The Japanese TGM community is kind of its own thing.
Yeah, it's possible she has the world record. I'm actually not sure. But I do know she's definitely the first Western GM.
Yeah. First and fastest. And still only question mark?
Yeah, still only. I only recently picked this up, so I'm like, I have a game clear in this, but I don't have the GM yet. But I'm kind of feeling like going for it now, so we'll see. Maybe we'll have 2 Western GMs soon.
Yeah, I don't know what else there is to really say about Rev Mode. It's kind of the same game.
Yeah.
The field is I guess I should specify that the field is rotated 180 degrees. not flipped upside down. That's important because you notice that Kai is stacking for a left side well.
Right.
Like I said before, TGM's rotation system is very preferential towards the right side, so when you rotate the field 180 degrees, it becomes a left side preference. If you try and stack for right side in this mode, you're going to find it to be very difficult. Nice piece placement there.
Thank you, I did it myself.
100% intentional.
Oh, I tried to go for like a fancy
Oh yeah, I saw what you went for there.
auto synchro, but I don't know, those like high-tech moves. I get them sometimes, but I'm not nearly enough. Like, I need to think about them, which is the thing. Like, you do not think about things in TGM. There is no time to think.
Yeah, there's no time. I guess I should explain. Kai just mentioned doing what's called an auto synchro. This is something you could learn about from TGM.tips, but basically a synchro is a move where you synchronize movement and piece placement, aka it's a frame perfect trick. Where if you do a movement and a rotation on the same frame, something weird or useful will happen. An auto synchro is a free synchro. If you hold the stick, like the movement stick, in one or the other direction, after some number of frames, it charges up what's called delayed auto shift, or DAS. And once it's done charging, it just starts essentially inputting a movement once per frame, like every frame. So that's how you're able to move pieces very quickly from side to side. You can charge DAS between like piece drops. So if you keep holding a direction after one piece locks, the next piece will come down, charged with DAS. Anyways, with DAS, you can do auto synchros, which are free synchros, because the movement input is happening once per frame, so all you have to do is do the rotation.
Yeah.
There's a couple auto synchros that are really just common in play, and you almost wouldn't even notice them, because they don't even look weird. They do take advantage of those quirks of the rotation system. Coming up on 300 and moving into awkward G.
So we did meet the level and time requirements for the 300 at least, so that's something.
Nice. Gonna get the world's second Rev GM live.
I would be very surprised. I mean, I have been improving pretty fast so far, but I wouldn't count on it, let's just say.
I mean, need I remind the audience that Kai got their first GM in 2 months. It took me almost a year.
Yeah.
And that's of, like, playing almost every day. Like, TGM is not a small commitment, I should probably say that. This game has such an insanely high skill cap that it really takes a long time to, as the kids say, get good.
I just got awkward G'd.
Yeah, it happens.
Which is where I was basically just holding a direction, hoping that the piece would go where I wanted, but the gravity wasn't like fast enough. I expected the gravity to be higher, and so the piece ended up somewhere else, which is unfortunate. So now we kind of need to repair this.
Yeah, we need to do a little bit of upstacking.
Yeah.
But it's looking better now. Yeah, especially with that eyepiece clear.
Yeah.
As long as we can keep the stack below the points counter, or above the points counter, excuse me. That's generally how you know you're in a good place in Rev mode.
Oh, I kind of misread that. I thought I could get the eyepiece in under there.
Oh, I do. Oops.
That's kind of a thing with learning Rev mode, is all your like visual cues and like every little thing you like feel and look for, it's just suddenly all of it is off. So like you still know the game, you like know all the intricacies and all the cool tech and stuff, but you like just cannot execute it anymore. So it's an interesting feeling. It's sort of like learning the game from scratch again.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Oh, we got a cool little twist there.
Oh, nice.
Let's see if we can survive this. It's looking pretty grim now, but it's not completely over. If I just get an eyepiece now. Or this works too.
That was pretty good. That was some nice down stacking.
Yeah.
I guess I should talk a tiny bit about the randomness in this game, the RNG,
Sure.
as the kids call it. So this game has, it's not true randomness. Let's start there. And by true randomness, I don't mean like, oh, the randomness of nature being used to generate it, because no video game has that. Like, I'm not being nitpicky. It's not just a random number generator decides what piece it is straight up. This game has a 4-piece piece memory. And without going into big detail, basically what that means is it biases against giving you pieces it just gave you. It remembers the last 4 pieces you've gotten, and if it rolls up one of those pieces, it will roll again up to 4 times. On the 4th time, it will take whatever it gets, even if that's something you just got recently. In the next game, in Tetris the Grandmaster 2, they actually upped the retry count to 6 pieces to make the randomization a little bit better. Because there's nothing more annoying in Tetris in general than a flush or a drought of a certain piece.
Yeah.
Because a lot of pieces don't stack well with themselves, which is annoying.
I will mention that we reached 20G, which is really cool, but I did miss the GM requirement for 500.
Aww.
So sadly the GM dream is dead, but we could still see a PB even. My current PB is an S7 at like a game player with S7, so level 999. Let's see what happens.
Yep.
Still kind of a messy stack, so we're just kind of clearing singles. So
yeah, that's rev mode, because as far as I know, there's no one in the world who's like really good at rev mode TM, like almost as good at rev as they are at normal Tetris. So for pretty much any average existing rev mode player, most of rev is cleanup, because you're just flat not as good at it.
You're gonna be making a whole lot more misdrops too.
Oh yes. I've always been curious to like get some TGM newbie and have them play nothing but rev mode. Like never even touch I guess like original, aka upside down mode, and just see what they could do after playing nothing but rev as their like first TGM experience for like a year. So if any of you in chat are like, I want to try TGM, and I also want to be a guinea pig for a really weird experiment, now's your chance to start playing rev mode, and let's see what happens. This is going pretty smoothly, all in all.
Yeah. It's pretty scary, but we're alive.
Oh, yes, yes it is, of course. I mean, one would expect nothing less from rev mode. Rev mode giveth, rev mode taketh. Although that's just kind of Tetris in general, to be fair.
Yeah.
This game is really mean.
Alright, yeah, there we go. I'm like slightly dependent on certain pieces now, which is not a very good situation to be in, but...
Yeah.
J would be nice. Okay, that works too. I'm okay with this. I can work with this.
And then you get the J right after, of course.
I don't know if I can work with this.
Oh, yeah. You can do the thing.
Maybe? Oh, it would have been nice if that cleared. Oh, I can't get the... That's an unfortunate. I couldn't get the IPs into that hole there because of the rotation rules. But hey, I will take that game. That was a really good game for me in rev mode.
That's probably one of the best rev mode games ever played in the West, because not that many people have played rev mode seriously.
Yeah. Alright, so we're gonna switch over to tap now?
Yep.
TGM2. Let's see. Here we go. So we're going to be starting out with Master Mode, which is just like, it's pretty much the same game mode as normal TGM1.
Yeah, get to level 999 to get the GM. So I guess while you get started, I'll start going through the differences in this game. So the one you'll probably notice right away is Sonic Drop, where you can press up and the piece will fall instantly on the stack and not lock. That's really important. Your stacking strategy in TGM2 is way different than TGM1 entirely because of Sonic Drop. You don't have to stack as high. In fact, you shouldn't because you don't need to play it risky. For one thing. For another thing, placing super weird overhangs is totally fine because you can get pieces under them really quickly thanks to Sonic Drop.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
just set up
kinda
for
the-
T-spin here, as you can see, which is filled there pretty easily with no
Yep.
like speed loss.
Yeah, in TGM1, in order to do that T-spin, you would have had to like let the piece fall pretty slowly into that, into that gap, and then rotate it. Not so in Tap. So that's a pretty big change. That's the most noticeable change, I think. Second change, this game, as I mentioned before, has a 6-piece memory, making the randomness a little more fair, which is pretty nice. So in addition, the speed curve is a lot higher. At what point does it diverge, Kai? 300?
It's 500. It's the same as TGM1 up to 500. Then after 500, it starts, like, obviously the gravity cannot get any faster because it's already instant, but what it does instead, it starts fiddling with timings for, like, how much time is there between, like, a piece locking down and the next piece appearing, how many frames does it take before a piece locks after it touches the stack and stuff like that.
You also might notice that Kai, despite being at level 170, is only rank 6. The ranking system in this game is very different and significantly more difficult.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't really know the details of the TGM2 ranking system, so why don't you talk about that?
Sure. The ranking system in this game is, well, I will just start by saying it is really complex. So,
Yeah.
like, most people, like, very few people know all the details. But basically, the, like, rule of thumb is when you clear lines, you get what are called, like, internal grade points, which you, like, accumulate over time. And when you get enough points, you get an internal grade up. However, in addition to this, over time as you play and you don't clear lines, you lose grade points, but like not to the point where you would lose an internal grade. But it does kind of force you to, you know, play fast and not spend time not clearing things. People usually or sometimes describe it as kind of a dripping bucket. You like need to fill up a bucket, but the bucket has a hole in the bottom, so you need to like fill it up faster than it drains. In addition to that, just getting the light grade points or like getting a grade up requires a lot more than in TGM1. So you will be staying at a pretty low grade until you usually you hit level 500 at around rank either 1 or maybe S1 if you have a good game.
And that's compared to S4 or anywhere between like S4 and S6 at a high level in TGM1.
S6 would be really good, but it's not like super hard. But yeah, then after that, it's pretty much only after 500 or really like the 700s where you start getting grades really fast. But pretty much only, they like really want you to score Tetrises because Tetrises just give so many more grade points than pretty much anything else, except for like really big combos and stuff.
Yeah, there is a combo multiplier in this game and in TGM1, but we don't really use that in the speedrun because Tetrises are better. You get like more points per line cleared in a sense.
Well, actually, if all you're going for is grade, then combos will increase your grade faster, even in tap. However, you remember in TGM1 we had this thing where it was enough to just reach 999. You also needed to hit these various checkpoints where you need to either have like a certain grade or a certain time by a certain level. And this game kind of looked at that and said, well, hey, this is just way too simple. So we need to make this more complicated and harder. So this game has pretty much for every 100 level section, the game will like evaluate how you're doing. So for the first 5 sections, you both need to complete each section in less than 1 minute and 5 seconds. And you also need to score a minimum of 2 Tetrises. I might be missing some requirements here, by the way, because there are a lot of them. Then after...
These are the most major ones, though.
Yeah, then after the first 5 sections, then the game will like look at how fast you have been playing, and then it like forces you to not slow down. You like need to be consistent and like keep your pace up. Because if the game notices that, hey, you're like slowing down, what's the matter? Like you're really terrible, you can't have any good grade, and then like it kind of makes it impossible for you to get GM that game.
Yeah.
Basically,
so you need to be keeping up with the pace you are at.
Yeah, and like the game has all these things it keeps track of, and when you do hit level 999, the game will like say, okay, so did you meet the requirements? And if you do meet all the requirements, then you get to, well, that's when you get the master grade, as it's called, which is not Grandmaster. It's like a grade between Grandmaster and,
S9.
yeah. Huh, we're in some trouble here, so I may need to...
Yeah, I can talk. So yeah, you get, upon completing the game, if you meet every requirement, you can just start another game. If you meet every requirement, upon clearing a line at level 999, you get what's called Master Grade. And then the game is like, okay, I guess you're pretty decent, but you're not that good. And so then, in order to get Grandmaster, you have to clear what's called the M roll. If you remember how I said that the credits in TGM1 are a victory lap, that is not the case in TGM2 and, by extension, TGM3. In this game, during the credits, as soon as you lock a piece, it disappears. It's gone. It's invisible. You cannot see it. And you have to not top out in invisible credits, basically.
I'm pretty sure it's 1 minute for the top credits. Yeah.
And then, if you subdividing that further, the number of Tetrises you get, I believe, is what determines orange versus
just
green.
lines. Yeah, you need 32
The number of
lines.
lines you clear, you can basically get which one's which? It's orange GM and then green GM. Yes.
No. If you just survive the invisible credit roll, you get what is called a green GM, which is a GM with just a green line under it in the high score screen. But if you do clear at least, I think it is 32 lines during the invisible credit loans, which is a lot. Let me just say, like, if you just let the game like run and you just place pieces and clear lines, then you will not hit it. It's impossible. You need to like actively push the game and play faster than it forces you to. And it's pretty fast by that point.
Oh yes. Yeah, because 500, the instant gravity speed just keeps going up, so the gravity, like the M roll gets really crazy. If you don't meet the requirements, you get what's called the fading roll, which is basically an easier version of the M roll, where pieces, once they lock, they fade out slowly. Fade out from visibility, and I think they're invisible after 5 seconds?
Yeah, it's either 3 or 5. I don't remember which.
Yeah, I never remember which game is 3, which game's 5, but one would have to assume that TGM3 made it harder, so... Something that came up in my head while we were talking about that, I mentioned clearing a line at level 999 to get Master Grade, which reminded me that I never talked about level stops. And let me tell you, parents, it is never too early to tell your kid about level stops. So, at any level that ends with a 99 or 998, in order to progress to the next level, you have to actually clear a line. You can't just place a piece. That is what's called a level stop. So naturally, speed tech is to make sure to clear a line as soon as possible upon or just before hitting that mark. Level stops, if you're not paying attention, they just eat time. Like, doesn't matter how fast you're playing, if you don't notice the level stop for like 5 seconds, you just wasted 5 seconds.
They can like totally wreck. Like if you're playing fast enough for PB pace, it doesn't matter because you can still lose so much time over a run if you're not paying attention.
So that's just kind of one more thing you have to keep track of in this game, basically.
Yeah, it's kind of the like philosophy of the TGM games in general is the game puts extremely high demands on you in order to get the, you know, best possible result. But the game is also very, like, it gives you the tools for playing fast. You know,
yes.
between, you know, Sonic Drop or like, you know, we mentioned earlier how you can like buffer the auto shift before a piece spawn. If you like hold the direction key, the key will, or the piece will spawn just numing off into that direction immediately and stuff like that. So
and stuff like wall kicks too. That's one thing that I really love about this game. It demands that you go ridiculously fast, but you couldn't go this fast in Nestris or Game Boy Tetris or, you know, Atari Tengen Tetris.
no, it's not possible.
You need the tools that this game gives you in order to do it.
Yeah, so it's like that is a large part of why it is so rewarding to put a lot of time into, because as you master these tools, it's just so rewarding to have the game respond to like every little thing you're doing, and like you're just you just kind of know where you want the piece to be, and then your hands just kind of do some magic for a super short time, and then the piece is just there, like the game is reading your mind, and it's really cool when you like get to that level.
Yeah.
And can just things just go how you want it to until they don't, and then
Until they don't. Yeah.
you will be misdropping. All right, so we hit 20G this time. Did I hit 20G last time? I believe I was just short of it or something.
I was not paying attention to the time, so I don't know. Kai, what is your PB in Tap Master?
In Tap, my PB is an orange S9, which means I got the S9 before the game ended, and then I survived the fading credit roll for 1 minute. Which is pretty difficult. I am not even close to consistent on that, although I have done it a bunch of times by now. I might be going quiet for a while here because the game is getting into the fast part.
Yeah, go for it. Anything comes up, I'll talk about it. Shoutouts to that floating pink block.
Yeah, floating
blocks are ultimate swag. So as you can see, this game starts getting really fast, not even like that long after 500. Like the speed is way faster than TGM1's 20G speed.
Yeah.
And like we said, you really have to keep control, because if you stop clearing lines and start doing like small mistakes, you're down stacking, you're losing those internal grade points, you're not going to be able to advance far enough to get the M in time. One thing that's at least sort of worth mentioning, Kai is playing on a keyboard right now. Like I said earlier, this is an arcade game series, so they're originally meant to be played on arcade sticks. The keyboard actually does offer some interesting advantages and disadvantages. I play on stick. I played on keyboard for a very long time because, you know, a good arcade stick is a serious investment. But both are definitely very playable. There's some very, very, very high-level keyboard players, such as this Tetris player here. So if you don't have or don't want to invest in an arcade stick, that's totally okay. I played for a long time without a stick, like at least 5 or 6 months of TGM, and then I switched to stick. The transition from keyboard to stick or vice versa was a little challenging. It took me like 2 weeks to kind of get my bearings back. But like I said, both are very, very playable.
So we're going to be hitting 900 soon when we get another music change and the game speeds up even more. So I'll do my best to get the...
I'm just going to let you focus.
Yeah. We're going to go into really fast mode now. Oh, I kind of slipped that. Yeah. Ah, that was
Aw.
really close.
Oh god, that was so close, yeah?
Yeah, what happened there was,
Alright.
since the timings get like faster and faster as you progress, so does the like time before the delayed auto shift kicks in. So by the end of the game is the only really good word I've heard to describe it is the game turns very slippery. So like you just want to tap
Yeah.
a piece over just a column or so, but then suddenly, it's like way on the other side of the stack.
Uh-huh. So after that, we are going to move into what's called death mode here. So don't start playing it. I kind of want to explain this mode first.
Oh, I guess
So
I
in
should.
Tetris the Grandmaster 1, yeah, you should move the thing out of the way. In Tetris the Grandmaster 1, there was a game code you could enter to play the game in 20G from the start. Death mode is kind of the logical endpoint of that. It's 20G from the start, and the game very much takes advantage of that fact. And I'm just gonna let y'all experience it. So Kai, feel free to go. This is death mode, and it lives up to its name.
Yeah, I'm just gonna let Proto do all the commentary here because this is fast from the get-go, and I'm just gonna need to focus a bit.
So yeah, this is death mode. It's very, 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 very fast. And this is just the level 0 speed. It speeds up every 100 levels until 500. Because, you know, this isn't fast enough, obviously.
No.
So Kai, your PB is a 500, yes?
Yes.
Okay. So let me talk a little bit about death mode has its own system for Grandmaster. But there's no points in this game. There's a score, but it doesn't do anything. As you can see, there's no grade. Your grade in this mode is determined entirely by your level. So if you reach level 500, and reminder that there's a level stop at 499, within a time limit that we call the Torikan, which is 3 minutes and 25 seconds, and you clear that line at 499, you get Master rank. To get Grandmaster, you have to survive 500 more levels of the 500 speed. And upon clearing a level at 998, you get Grandmaster. So yeah, that's the death mode ranking system. All you really need to know about this mode is that it's stupid fast.
Yeah. Alright, we hit a 200 for first. We're gonna have time for like a few games. These games are really fast.
Yeah, we can do like 2 more games. These games fly by. Like I said, the halfway requirement is 325, so... Though, that requirement is not at all easy to meet. Kai did not meet that requirement in their PB.
No, that is why the game ended on exactly 500, because at that point the game just stops and says, you know,
if you're not fast
good,
enough,
but...
the game is like, you're not good enough to try and earn Grandmaster.
No. It's like, I can see you don't have what it takes, just stop. I will say, just like, to give you an idea of how fast this game gets, the speeds at 500, you have, I'm pretty sure it's a quarter of a second for every piece before it locks.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So yeah, it's pretty fast. You do not have time to think. There is no thinking in TGM.
Mm-hmm. There is even less thinking than that in death mode.
Yeah.
And you don't have time for a lot of the complex rotations that could save you in Tapmaster and TGM1. You really just have to be raw, like throwing down pieces. You have to be a very, very, very adaptable and reactionary stacker to be good at this mode. Because you are going to make mistakes. You are going to. There is no question.
You're gonna like intentionally make mistakes too?
Yeah.
Because it's like faster or like the only thing you have time for.
Yeah, I mean, like sometimes you don't even have time to place a piece in a good way.
Yeah.
So you really have to be prepared for anything with this mode. You have to be a very dynamic stacker, able to react to a situation and come up with a plan exceedingly quickly, like quarter of a second to decide what you're doing. Yeah, these games really fly by. Like, you can sit down and be like, oh, I'll play a couple games of death mode, and then next thing you know, it's 3 hours later, and you've played like 30, 40 games,
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, this mode's fast. TGM3 has, you know, kind of the equivalent mode of this called Shirase mode, which is faster, because this isn't fast enough, clearly.
No, no. Never fast enough.
No. But we're not getting into TGM3. TGM3 is a very, very, very different game that neither me nor Kai play. I guess one thing worth noting in this game that I actually never got around to mentioning during the other modes is when you clear a line, there's a like line clear animation, and there's kind of a value in the game that's called line clear delay. So that's another reason you want to be clearing Tetrises and multi-lines instead of singles. In Death, that's not a thing. There's no line clear delay, and like I said, there's no kind of points system for grade. So there's no incentive in this mode to clear Tetrises.
Yeah.
You just want to clear lines and survive.
Oh no, the RA was too long. I started rotating too early. Or too late, I mean. No, too early. Okay. Was that the last one, or do we have time for one more?
One more game, TM.
Alright, let's see. I'm gonna try and keep it a little more under control so we can see the 300 plus, where we get a music change and a significant speed increase. So I'll try and show that to
Serious
you.
time harmonica.
Yeah. So as you can see, I'm playing very deliberately slow right now. I guess
This
I'll
game's
also...
kind of mesmerizing, honestly.
Yeah, I was gonna point out the like music and the sounds in this game. I just love them so much.
Oh god, the sound effects are so good. Tetris the Grandmaster is ASMR in essence. Like, all the game sounds are so good, and the music is so like prototypical late 90s, early 2000s arcade. But it's so good. Like, you can listen to the music in this game for hundreds of hours and not get bored of it.
Which is pretty much what you do when you try to get GMs.
Oh yes, I've spent so many hours listening to TGM1's music.
That's kind of cool about TAP or like TGM2 as well, is that it has more music tracks because it changes the music at more points in the game.
Yeah, TGM only has one music change, but this Tap Master has what, 3 music changes? 1 to 3, 3 to 5, 5 to 7, 7 to 9.
Alright, we're hitting 300 now.
Alright, do the thing.
Aw. We got to see a few levels.
We did not get serious time harmonica, but oh well.
Oh yeah, well that is at least the first 2 games of the Tetris Grandmaster series. There are a couple other game modes in TGM2, but we're not going to be showing those today. But if you like want to pick this game up, then like it is, I promise it looks super intimidating, but it is a ton of fun, and it is pretty...
Yeah,
Like-
just start playing. You'll have so much fun that next thing you'll know it'll be 10 months later and you'll get your first GM.
Yeah, it's definitely not, you know, just a huge brick wall that you
If
bang
you-
your head against. You just...
Like, reminder that, like, this is Tetris. Tetris is great. It's super fun and addicting, and just super easy to just totally relax with. And there's great community and great resources for learning how to play this game at a higher level.
yeah.
So yeah, you should play this game. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then a year later, after you start playing this game, you can like go to your family dinner or whatever and be like, yeah, I'm a grandmaster ranked Tetris player. I don't need to do the dishes. Thank you. You can do them.
That's what I do every time. Yeah, it's also like so, at least, especially with TDM1, the progression is really smooth. You're gonna be continuously progressing and getting better. You won't be hitting your head against the wall for like months and months until you get better. I mean, there are plateaus and stuff, but in general, you will just be having a good time. You will be getting better. You'll be learning new tech, new tricks and stuff. So yeah, I cannot recommend this game enough. It's really good. So I guess I'm just gonna say thank you so much for letting me show this game here at Power Up with Pride,
Yeah.
and thank you for your donations.
Yeah, thank you very, very much. Coming up next is going to be The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, 100% reverse boss order by my